Hey, Wade.
Rusty, how are you, mate?
Uh, I
Got it.
Good morning. Yeah, how are you doing?
Yeah, good.
Thanks
Oh,
for waiting.
good. No
Uh,
worries.
hey, you been fishing?
Bit of fishing, bit of surfing. It's prime
Yeah.
time right now.
Girl, what time is it?
Prime time. The Goldie's got everything.
Ah, it's like here in late summer.
Yeah.
Uh, what have you been catching?
Spanish mackerel and yellowfin tuna.
I love yellowfin. How big
So
are
good.
how big are the Spanish? How big?
Um, about 8 to 12 kilos. So like they're pretty long, just little bullets.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the yellow.
Yellowfin were like 3 to 5 kilos, just little ones.
Yeah, good fun on light tackle.
Yeah,
Um,
going off.
so what have you been riding lately?
I've just been riding my normal 6'1" keg. We've had like 2 foot to I'd say 4 foot range the last couple of weeks, and that's just been my go-to. 31.8 liters, and it's been going good in everything. I got I got a blade yesterday that got sent, and
Uh-huh.
a epoxy and a PU. I
Uh-huh.
rode the epoxy this morning, and because it was actually super small and sloppy today, so it was very alive. It just wanted to go, so that was exciting.
You could tell the difference
As soon as you
instantly.
take off, just that buoyancy on top of the water.
Why don't you think more guys?
I find when because that little bit of more buoyancy that sits on the water, I find that when there's a bit of wind or it gets over like say head high, it just wants to pop out and then and when I'm surfing waves over head high, it's more you want to just stay in the water and bury your rail instead of staying on top of the water.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's a pretty common consensus. Um, so you're talking about the EPS core with the epoxy glassing, right?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah,
And then the E-polys. Have we built any recently?
I don't think I've got the E poly. What's the one with? They're all got stringers.
Yeah. Well, torsion springs don't. Um, but yeah, the rest of them do. The EPS has stringers and the E-poly. E-poly is straight up polyurethane blank, and it's glass with epoxy.
Oh, okay.
Slight, Slightly lighter, but you have the better flex of the epoxy.
Lighter and is that
Just lighter.
the epoxy resin cures quicker or longer?
It's got a longer lifespan. The polyester resin goes off pretty quick, and it's got a much steeper cure curve. It cures out a lot faster. The epoxy, the thing a lot of people expect is, well, I paid all this extra money for epoxy, and I thought it was stronger, and blah blah blah. You will get dents. You'll get dents on.
Yeah, under your
Um,
feet.
yeah, but that's a good thing. You know, 15 plus years ago, there was a company called Surf Tech. I guess they're still around, but they made these molded boards that it was timing was perfect because Clark Foam had just shut down in December 2005, and nobody had any foam, and Surf Tech was doing long boards, but I was one of the first guys to jump on board to short boards, and so the timing was perfect. So we sold a lot of them in 2006. Come 2007, nobody wanted another one because they didn't dent. They didn't dent.
Yeah,
They didn't flex, and sure the board is in perfect shape, but I use this little story. It's like a pair of shoes. You get a brand new pair of shoes, and they feel pretty good at first. Excuse me, and then they break in. You start to wear them in, and they feel perfect for if they're a good pair of shoes a while, and then they start to eventually they start to lose it. That's a good surfboard. A surfboard has a lifespan. It's just
definitely.
You know, and I know some of the guys, the boards that if they would get a really, really good board, they put it aside and they save it for comps. Is that something you do?
I definitely put boards aside. Yeah, it's hard though because even that lifespan you're talking about, I feel like just even living in the garage or for me, if I take it to every comp, putting boards in board bags, the airlines can do damage to them just without even riding them. So it's a risk for reward because you want to utilize the good board and ride as much as possible, and then someone else can ruin it on the plane. Or if you put it away for too long, it can still just deteriorate over time, and then that life of the board is over, and you kind of left it too long.
Right. Yeah.
Makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, the airlines are wonderful, aren't they? I
Yeah,
know.
they're hard. It's tough going sometimes.
I guess you got some pretty good stories. I remember my first trip to West Australia. I don't know, it was 82 or 3 or something, and I just bought two boards, and I'm a big guy, so my boards are bigger. It's hard to borrow boards, so. But I get in Perth, and I start to unpack the boards, and the both the tails are absolutely crushed. Like they got rolled over by a forklift rolled over
Oh no.
them. So I went to file a complaint, and they go, "Well, that's tough luck, kid," you know.
Yeah.
So Mick, I met Mick for the first time, and they're just getting the new factory together, and uh, so I couldn't ride the boards; they were ruined. There's like tire tracks on my bag. It's like, and I'm sure you've experienced way worse than that. So, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I've had some shockers. Just I guess that's why we got to take so many away with us sometimes for those long period trips because you can nearly ride off. I'd say 3 or 4 boards, like max. Like sometimes one will only get damaged, but on long trips, like 3 or 4 boards to get damaged just on the plane, you don't get to ride them.
right, yeah, yeah. We have the same problem with shipping boards too to customers. Not 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 a 30% deal, but
Yeah,
but we have, and the boards get there, they're damaged. Excuse me, naturally the customers are upset. We try to work with them, but at the end of the game, it's like we put it in the box perfect, and the shipping company is the one that screwed up. But anyways, so yeah, back to you set the boards aside. And that's a good point. That if you have maybe a heat wave or something, or I don't know,
yeah.
uh, or yeah, with airline, all that,
There's
that's a
heaps of factors. Like even yeah, leaving them in your car over summer. Uh,
right.
so if it's there and you're surfing it like once a week or twice a week, and then it's in your car for like 2 months, it just gets old in there. The heat doesn't like it. So I don't know where like obviously the garage is where they live most of their life, but I still feel like in like the Australian heat they still get damaged inside and lose their life just over time and just not getting surfed.
Yeah,
I'd say for me a year and a half to would be like the maximum lifespan of a magic stick.
that's good. I
Yeah,
think that's good.
that's really putting it on ice. So like putting it in the middle of your board bag when you're traveling, not leaving it in the car for very long, board like in socks and board bags in the car sometimes, and just really taking care of it. And you get a year and a half, which is pretty good.
And the board that you like and you ride, it's your everyday board. How long do you think? What's a good lifespan for regular polyester board that it's kind of your everyday board to go to for?
Everyday board for me, I would say 6 months to 4 to 6 months riding it every day.
That's pretty good, especially consider how hard you ride.
Yeah.
You
The
probably, you probably turn harder than the average.
well,
Yeah.
when I was younger and used to try airs all the time, used to do a lot of damage doing airs, and then since I've been getting older and just like kind of sticking to the face more, It used to, and before everyone put carbon on the tails,
Yeah,
the tail cancer was a huge problem. Always used to get tail cancer, and my board used to be like dented, like from my big toe, just put in a hole and hole after every wave, and it just get worse and worse. And then as soon as it cracked, it was gone. Board was you couldn't fix it. You can never fix it,
yeah,
or it never went the same. And then now there's carbon, so that's pretty good. So pretty much the only damage is um you get a ding or you break it
yeah,
really, because
yeah,
I like the foot indents like you said
yeah,
before, like the new shoes they get worn in, your foot finds its spot straight away and it's comfy and it just locks in, and that's when your board is prime and you can do like you can really it's like having straps really. Your foot's
yeah.
just locked in.
You're so on point with that because, uh, from time to time, somebody that's uh, uh, excuse me, that hasn't surfed much or doesn't surf much or is kind of a beginner and they get their first new board and then they get a dent in the deck and they freak out. They say
Yeah,
my board's defective. I try to explain to them that actually you do want dents. They're called
definitely.
footwells. Yeah, and
Yeah,
people, some shapers shape them in. They figure out where the surfer's feet go and they
yeah,
shape
I've
them
heard of
like
that.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I've never
mean,
I've never tried it before because I feel like my foot moves a little bit, so it would have to be a pretty big dent. But I've definitely heard of people putting their imprints in and before they even ride them, just so that feeling's there straight away.
yeah. I mean, the earliest footwells I can remember were a guy that used to surf Honolulu Bay, and this is in the late '60s. I'm blanking on his name right now, but it was pretty. There was a little bit of movement like 50 years ago for footwells.
Yeah,
Yeah, so yeah, that's a good. Footwells are a good thing, and back to the point about epoxy is it will dent. It might even out of the gate, it might even dent a little bit quicker than polyester, but it starts to firm up, and eventually the polyester resin gets so brittle, the dents start to crack. I know you get like semicircular cracks around the dents, but with the epoxy resin, it it has a much slower curve deal, a cure curve, and so over time it still has great flex. It hasn't gotten stiff, it hasn't started to break down. It's got footwells or dents, but
yeah,
it's got a little. Most people say it's got a little bit livelier flex, and that's not to be confused with the EPS, which if you glass it, EPS, if you glass it properly, I mean, Garrett McNamara and Jamie Sterling get a lot of voice from me, and a lot of their guns are EPS. Just so we
really.
glass it. Yeah, 10-6. I got a
What
10, a 9-6, a 9 footer, and a 8-6 for Garrett.
is that?
EPS.
Paddle power, better paddle.
Uh, I, yeah, I guess. They just don't, the guns get so big and they have so much wood, they have so much cloth that there's times when they get almost too heavy. And that,
Yeah,
the EPS foam is 10% lighter and roughly. And so when you're getting into a board that weighs 20, 25 pounds, that's significant. And
it is.
we glass the guns maybe six, 4 and 6 on the bottom, and then 6 and 6 on top. And the reason I do more cloth on the bottom is that's the way the boards normally break. Is they break the curve of the board, they break with the curve of the board, and it also gives you a lower center of gravity. Your weight's lower.
Yep.
Absorb shock a little bit better, but yeah. Well, I mean, I think eventually epoxy will become more and more and more popular.
Yeah,
Uh,
I reckon with the stringer epoxy, I actually have never now thinking of it, like if you had the stringer epoxy uh and maybe did a heavier glass job, you could probably ride that in bigger waves just to get that extra strength, and you could like keep it in the water more. That could be something.
You're talking the EPS core with the
Yeah,
epoxy
yeah,
layer.
the EPS.
Yeah, that's exactly what I do for like Garrett and Jamie. And
Big string is very big string.
yeah, like 3/4 of an inch. Yeah.
But back to the foot dents, I just thought about it too. The most important part of the board is the bottom, really. So some of those magic sticks that I have, the top can be completely ruined. Then you got holes all over it. But then the most like what I try to keep the safest is the bottom. So like no dents, no scratches, no cracks or anything, and the board will still go good. But you flip it over and it looks like it's 2 years old and just being beat to crap. But the bottom's like the most important part, I reckon. That's where all the magic happens, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. Have you ever had a board that's been too light?
If they're too light, they break. So they don't last that long.
Have you ever broken a board?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I
But I
I
mean,
tend to like heavier boards though, just so well since being on tour when we've been surfing better waves, heavier boards and an inch longer, so my 6.1s seem to get ridden a lot more, and they don't break very often. Maybe like 2 or 3 a year.
that's yeah. Well, yeah, a little bit heavier glass job. I mean, my point was like if you get a board that's too light, how does it feel versus a board that's too heavy? Because sometimes I get guys that order like a 6.2 and they want it to last. So they go, oh, double six top, single six bottom. I want a bigger stringer, and I'm going. There's a balance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there'll be zero flex, zero. It would be good in a straight line, but it might bite in the rail, but there won't be much life to it.
Right. It'll last forever, but it'll ride like shit.
Yeah, it'll be good. That's what you need for Kira. Just go straight, don't do a turn, and get barreled. Then you could have a board there for 10 years, and it wouldn't
Right.
and it wouldn't matter.
Pull your hand in and out of the way of face, or
Yeah, and just get tubed.
uh, have you tried any? For everybody listening, Ado is our shaper in Australia. Great guy, great shaper. Has he built you? I know I've designed you some different boards to try. Uh, have have you ridden any? By the way, the keg is getting a lot of attention. It's really a very popular board, and people uh, they find that it's loose. It's very free and loose and quick. And when we first started building your boards, I was tripping on how much rocker you had in the boards. The
Yeah,
concave was about as deep as I've ever done, but the rocker reminded me of the early Kelly Slater days. Like when we
really.
were shooting. Yeah, on a what was it, 511? It was a 5 1/4 in the nose.
Which one? The race boards?
Yeah, it's early kegs. Is
Was five? No, 5.5.
5.5.
1.5. 5.5. 1.5. 2.45.
Yeah.
2.
I mean,
Yeah.
I looked at that. I went,
Yeah.
is this real? But, uh, but no.
Yeah, that rocker would be like to keep the board nice and tight, like right in the pocket, because the waves are so curvy that if it's too flat, you can't get that pivot and that nice tight turns.
Yeah.
I feel, but then you want the tail is quite straight, yeah, because that's where the drive comes from.
Yeah, the tail. Yeah, the tail's pretty. I mean, are you talking uh, nose to tail, like the last bit of rocker is kind of straight, or
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. There's a lot of bend between your feet, and then your tail block is a little bit wider, uh, and you've got that heavy concave. Um, and are you still? Now that was over a year. That was like 15 months ago. Are you still liking over 5 inches of nose rocker and
Oh yeah, definitely.
two?
Uh, I don't think we've changed anything since then, except um, yeah, right now we might have changed the tail block, made it more of a thumb tail, and um, got a bit more of a hip. I feel like the hip faded away as we kind of went through boards. Now the hip come back again,
Yeah,
and that would create pivot. Yeah,
absolutely perfect.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It's you, yeah. You need a bit of break between your feet. It's
yeah.
like guys have experimented with it forever, but that's a good call. The break. Sometimes it's more of a soft wing, but there's definitely a break there. Um,
I like that
if
free
you
feeling.
the what the
That free feeling. So like, if you go off the bottom, you can drive off the bottom hard,
yeah
and say you want to do like a re-entry or a snap, you can push it as hard as you like, and then it will release, and it'll be really free, but then it catches and drives again.
Well, that brings us to your fins. What size fins do you like? What?
Large, big fins.
New ones from Future.
Yeah, we have
Yeah.
4 different designs of fins coming from Futures, and there's one in particular that kind of designed with you in mind. It's a bigger fin.
Fiberglass.
It's uh, I had them make them out of all 4 ounce fiberglass because I don't want to waste too much time. But way back in the day, I was so infatuated with fins, single fin days. I became friends with Skip Fry when I worked at GNS in the early '70s, and he was all about fins. And I noticed that his fins, they had a finer resolution to them. They had a finer foil. And I go, "What's up with your fins? I mean, what?" And he goes, "Oh, I use 4 ounce cloth." And I go, "Well, why?" And he goes, "Well, you think about it. And the heavier the cloth, the fewer the layers, the more resin you have, so the stiffer the fin is. With 4 ounce, you can get like, well, 30% more. You can get, instead of 20 layers, you get 30 layers, and you get a very fine foil. And the fins, they're not as light as the carbon fins, but I think someone like you, uh, I think they're going to have a dynamic crisp flex, which is something for years we didn't have when the plastic fins first came out. And it's obvious why all the good surfers kept stuck with glass on fins. Excuse me, the glass fins had much better flex than the plastic fins. But yeah, we'll have those in the next. We'll probably have some prototypes for you to try in the next month or so.
Oh,
And
epic! I've actually just started to see like they kind of everyone's going to the glass fins again in futures. Just for that extra, would it be less flex or more flex? What do you reckon?
glass horns, a
Yeah,
stiffer, a stiffer base. Yeah,
stiffer. Yeah,
and then if you really have a dialed-in shaper sander, they can play with how much they sand the overall fin, but especially the top half of the fin. And so you can have the same template. You can have some fins a little bit. Well, with glass lines, you can't change them in and out, but you can have the fins dialed in. And but that's I just think like G. There's a material called G10, which is an epoxy laminated, very fine cloth, like 3 or two and a half ounce or something.
Yeah, very thin, very thin.
And it's a little heavier, but I made some fins with a guy named Colonel Hesselbrave, who worked at Futures in the beginning 20 years ago out of D10, and they're still in perfect. This stuff is so strong, but it's got kind of a stiff flex, but the foils on them are still immaculate. And everybody's all about lighter fins, but it's interesting. So there's more guys. You see more guys going with glass-ons now?
Not necessarily glass on, but like glass fins.
There you go.
Fiberglass.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's exactly our direction.
Yeah, that's our direction. We're going to have all of our fins are going to be forged fiberglass, and
We should get some sent to him.
yeah, we'll get some sent to you in the next few weeks. So
Yeah, that's exciting. I'm keen as to try them.
Yeah.
Favorite surf spots? I know it's hard to name one, so I'll give you 5.
5. Okay.
You got
Have to say J-Bay, Kira. I've been having so much fun on the beach breaks lately, like Stratty and like Porto Escondido kind of waves. Just peaky barrels that you can't go wrong. They're so much fun and just so punchy and short. And then what would be another one? Yeah, the best left I would have ever surfed would have been in the Mentalize at a wave called Mutz. It was so good.
I've surfed with so many times. There was a big storm and an earthquake, I don't know, about 10 years ago. And Mutz used to be kind of long wave, and it could get hollow, but it was kind of more about, because you got, what's the one right, the hole right across the water.
Yeah.
And that's a cycle barrel. But Woods I loved, and then it changed. It turned into like you've surfed it since it's changed. Did you surf it before it changed?
No, I didn't. So Captain said the earthquake made the reef rise.
Yep.
And then so we surfed it once it was risen, and it was a perfect slab hollow barrel for 2 sections. It was like a 300-meter long barrel. Square.
Yep. Yeah. Our first session there after the earthquake, we went, holy shit! It was like you got to run for your money on this sucker.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That is a good wave. I had we surfed it for 3 days straight, and I was one on the boat there.
Yeah, we used to camp out. The first few trips we surfed up kind of up central, up north, and then Martin started taking us down south for years, and we'd pretty much camp out in that area, like between the hole and Woods, and sometimes the big right on the south side of the island.
The meat locker.
Meat locker, yes. That's my favorite place in the world. I love Tavarua, but as far as the best waves go, you can't beat the middle line.
Yeah, I've actually never been to Fiji yet, so and I've only ever heard good things about Cloudbreak, so can't comment on that.
Yeah, April, May, June, July. I always spent time down there then, and occasionally you'll get good later in the season. But the best swells I've ever had were like May and June. So you got to try to get down there this May or June.
Yeah, like a 6-6 round pin.
I was gonna say you ought to take a 6'8" or 6'10", like a really big board.
Bigger, you reckon?
No, I was joking. I've seen you ride some pretty big waves on pretty small boards.
I like the length sometimes. A different style of surfing.
Yeah. What are your competition plans for the upcoming year?
So right now we got 4 comps in Oz, Newcastle, Narrabeen, Margaret River, and Rottnest Island. So the preparation for that would just be small wave boards and like pretty much just normal 6-1. Getting them the whole quiver dialed in because it's going to be 2 months on the road. So it's a fair chunk to keep all your boards intact and consistent over that whole time. And then the same boards I rode at Sunset were going to be for main break at Margaret River.
Yeah.
Probably the biggest I would ride would be a 6 or 6.8 there.
Yeah.
And then Rottnest is a wild card. I've only ever heard of it, and I've spoke to people about that wave, and it seems fun. But I think we'll only be riding normal boards again, so it'll probably just be a 6-1.
Yeah, I've had
round tail maybe.
Yeah, I've had a few trips out there. And, it's punchy, but for some reason you think it would be big, but surfed a couple of the spots out there. But Margaret River, yeah, there was a contest there in '84. It was huge, and most of the guys, they took 6 foot, 6'2", and maybe a 6'4" or 6'6", and Mike Parsons took I don't know, something in the high 7s, and he had every guy before and after asked if they could borrow his board.
No way.
It gets so freaking big down there.
Oh yeah, the steamroll sets wash you in.
Yeah. And the other, that's cool too in Southwest Australia. And the other two again were Kira.
No, Newcastle and Narrabeen.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're just going to be standard beach breaks. Newcastle can be a right point on a big south swell, and Narrabeen can be a big left point on a northeast swell, but probably going to be like head higher beaches. Can both be good. Just need to get the right swell direction.
Have you ever surfed a wave pool?
I've surfed Kelly Slater's wave pool a few times. It's tricky. I prefer the ocean.
Do you would prefer the ocean?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, just touch on that briefly. I mean, I have my reasons.
Yeah. I don't like the script of the wave pool. I like paddling out and not knowing what's going to happen.
Right on.
Because the ocean's like a big part of surfing. Like if you can't get out, you can't get a wave. So those days when no one can get out, but you can paddle out, that's like an achievement in itself. And then you got the whole surf to yourself. And if you move around the lineup, you can pick the waves you want, different type of waves. If you want to do a turn or get a barrel. And the wave pool just hands there as a platter, and it's like, dude, you do this, and it like scripts everything for you.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you 100%. That's the beauty of the ocean, and you never know what you're going to get. And if you're surfing in a competition, you guys might be slogging along in like moderate junk, and all of a sudden a bomb comes out of nowhere, and that's the heat winner,
Cleanups, yeah.
Cleanups.
Yeah.
So, but
the ocean's unpredictable, and we love it. That's why we love it.
Yeah, sometimes you go out and it's just a very soulful session. You sit, you meditate or contemplate or whatever, and other times it's full steam, like the whole time you're out there, and you come in and you're just exhausted and the sight. So, yeah. Well, I apologize to everybody. I was late. I apologize, but next week next session I'll be on time, and hopefully get you back on again late.
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
All right.
Hey, buddy, how are you?
Pedro.
Hey, Wade.
How are you, mate?
Good, mate. Good to see you. Thanks for being
here. No worries. Thanks for having me.
All right.
Can't wait to try the fins.
We'll get those.
The fins. Oh, the fins. We're gonna get to you for sure.
coming.
Yeah, the whole set.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right.
Beautiful.
All right, mate.
Take care.
Cheers.
You too.
Bye.
See you guys.
Cheers.